Yo, greetings. You clicked WDY. You're listening to Sick Verse. I hope you're all alright. 4B, yeah, I chose to do it again. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to sort of crack on where I left off from 3B. So here we goes. Yeah, you know what it is? Park were getting on top. There's always a couple that spoil it, in there. There were a lot of vandalism, fucking lot of stolen cars getting burnt out. Police were always up. Local school got fucking torched. So anyway, me and lads decided to go to Kavos in Greece. So we went to Greece's answer to Ibiza, and we went to Kavos for 2 weeks. Plenty of sun, sand, seeing sex, champagne diving, brilliant holiday. So yeah, come back. Anyway, it was British summertime when we come back. And now what I'm going to do now, I need to introduce someone to you, right? Let me get my head sorted now, right? What it is, because I was a local lad, right? I knew about this guy, the guy I'm about to tell you about. When I was due to go start high school, before it got burnt down, obviously, this lad, I'm going to call him Rob. He was like cock at school, you know what I mean? He was hardest lad. Now, he had a younger brother, right, 2 years younger, and he was called Steve, yeah. Now, they had another younger brother, but I've never met him, and I don't know about him. Anyway, you know what it is, yeah? When I started high school, Rob had just left, and Steve were in top year. What a character, what a character. He was one in a million. You know what it is there, listen to this. His dad, right, had started like a plumbing business, bathroom fittings, taps. And he'd absolutely gone from strength to strength. And he was a millionaire. He become a millionaire. I mean, Rob's dad, he drove around in a Rolls Royce, and they lived in a massive, massive house in Farnley, manor house. But it like my life, it'd all go fucking Pete Tong. You see, right, what happened, right, the father, yeah, Rob's dad, had an affair, right? And Rob's mum, she couldn't handle it. She was, she just couldn't handle it, and she hung herself. She hung herself in one of the rooms. And it had a big effect on Rob. See, Rob sort of like blamed his father and for his mum's death, for killing herself. And he left home at 13 years old, and he was living in a tent on park boundaries with only cornflakes to eat. Now, he used to come up to the park now and again, yeah, and that's like where I sort of like got to know. I knew of him, but I got to know him, and I got friends with him. He were he were a sorted lad. He'd always have combats on. He'd have like a Pink Floyd t-shirt or fucking, band t-shirt. He'd always have a clipper with an hole in it with a piece of string around his neck, yeah. He sported a tash. But you know what it is? He were hard as nails. Yeah, you know, you get people like spoilt kids, you know what I mean? And they're a bit wet behind ears. Rob and Steve, I mean, they were one in a million, mate. They were proper hard as nails, and they didn't give a fuck. I'll tell you a funny story, right? When we were getting shown around high school, yeah, they were showing us woodwork bit, yeah, and anyway, this teacher called Mr. Alden, he were right hard-nosed bastard. Anyway, he showed us this project, right, and it were 4 bits of wood, about 10 inch, 2x1, stapled together in like a square, yeah, stapled together. And then there were a square bit of tea towel, yeah, stapled to the top, and that were Rob's GCSE woodwork project, and it were a cat flap. He just didn't give a monkeys. He really didn't. Anyway, you know what it is? It were awful, man. Fucking Steve, his younger brother, he OD'd. He dug some gear and he OD'd. So he lost his brother and he lost his mum. So yeah, it was tough on him. Anyway, you know what it is, we've become friends, and really good friends actually. Yeah, like the story, the plot thickens. You know what it was, we'd come back off holiday, right? And what it was, my dad had gone out for day on bike, and I decided to have like a barbecue. There were 12 of us come round, have a barbecue, you know, I brought my stereo down, got some music out, you know, chilling to Bob Marley, legend, man, you know what I mean, getting it, you know, have a few bevies. Anyway, old man returns early from fucking his biking, and bike comes down drive, and he fucking kicks off. He kicks off big time. Oh, what you all doing here? What do you think you're doing? You know, it wasn't like we're having a party. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had beers and that lot, but he just handled it totally wrong, and he totally overreacted. Anyway, Rob were a bit drunk. Next minute, there's Rob and my dad fucking scuffling. My fucking hi-fi gets knocked over. That gets busted. Anyway, we split the fucking fight up, right? And my mates all piss off. And fair play to my dad. I mean, he come later on to me and he says, look, he says, I'm sorry, I might have overreacted. I says, might have overreacted. I says, it's well out of order. Anyway, do you know what it was, right? I'd sort of like, I was ready to like go out on my own, you know what I mean, stand on my own 2 feet. Now what had happened, Rob and Steve had a flat, right, but that had gone, right, when Steve OD'd, that went. Now Rob's dad, because he was like a millionaire, he had loads of property. Now he had this terraced house in Armley, right, and it had 4 floors included basement, which was like a self-contained flat. Anyway, Rob lived on top attic room with a dormer, and then he'd got a long-term mate called Will, who he'd known for years, but unfortunately Will was an alcoholic, and he lived opposite Rob in other dormer. So yeah, I moved into Rob's. He let me move there. So I had middle floor, you know what I mean? I had a sink in my room. I decorated it all, painted it. It made it look right good. But it was just fucking a mad flat. I wasn't prepared for like for the start, right? There were a lot of like dodgy bastards, criminals that would come round. I mean, what it is, right? It had a front room, but no one used it. No one used it. We just had a settee and no telly, and no one went in it. But it had a great big kitchen with a big table, and everyone used to chill in there. Do you know what I mean? It was fucking mental. I mean, I was still working as a graphic designer, right? And I'd had to get rid of bikes, right? My bike. That had to go, but I still had white escort. So, you know what it is, I used to come, I won't come home from work, man. Fucking hell. Wait till you hear this. Once come home from work, right, I've opened the door, yeah. Fucking smell hit me. Pungent smell. I thought, what the hell? There's fucking pan bubbling away on Hob. And Rob's fucking sat at table, right, with this bottle of wine next to him, and I thought, oh no. Now you see what it is. When Rob got pissed, it was dangerous. I mean, you had to watch yourself. You had to tiptoe around him. He could get quite violent, and he didn't give a fuck. You know, he was naughty. You had to, you know, he scared living daylights at me when he was pissed. So anyway, yeah, he's swaying about, yeah, you know what I mean? Bottle of wine next to him. Anyway, so I've gone. I says, what you making? What you cooking? Anyway, I've got wooden spoon and I've stirred this pan, yeah, and this fucking head of this animal's come to surface at bloody pan, bubbling away. I says, what's this? And what it was, right? Rob had just split up with his bird, yeah, and she'd moved most of her stuff out of the flat, but she'd left like a suitcase, and she'd left like it would either a gerbil or an hamster that she was going to pick up later. Anyway, Rob had got pissed, right, and he killed it and cooked it. It went in the oven. I says, what you doing with head in pan? He says, I'm boiling its skin off. He says, I'm boiling its skin off, and he says, I'm gonna make a bong out of its skull. I mean, when he were like that, man, you just left him to it. You know what I mean? You just left him to it. I went up and got changed out of my suit. You know what I mean? I come back down, and he were fucking sat there. You know, like you get a rib cage of an animal, yeah. You know when you split ribs apart, and you get that little bit of meat, and he were gnawing on these little ribs, right? Fucking laughing to himself. And I just shook my head, you know what I mean? There were no, you just couldn't do out. You just had to let him. Anyway, you know what it is? It just get mad, right? This fucking dodgy bastard moved into bottom basement flat, right? And you know what it is? I daren't even say his name, right? I'll be buried 2 foot under. and there were a lot of dodgy people that come round to the flat. I mean, you get people that like used to stay over for a couple of weeks, and you know, and were like a thoroughfare of fucking dodgy people. And like one of lads, again, it was like Rob. I'd known of him from being like a local lad, but I got to know these guys as they come into the flat. And one guy, I'm gonna call him Gripper. He was the most dodgiest bloke you've ever seen, right? Scars on his face, right? He had a squint, yeah. One yock looked up there, one yock looked down there, right? Fucking tombstone teeth, right? Big build, big bruiser, and I tell you what, he were proper dodgy. Yeah, he used to scare living daylights out of me. But yeah, we used to sit around this table and we used to get pissed and spliffs would get passed around, and it was brilliant. We had a great time. But yeah, but this guy who moved downstairs, right? All I'm going to say, right, is he had a spider's cobweb tattooed on inside of his ear, so people might know him from that. But anyway, you know what it is? He was a speed dealer. And I mean, he was a big speed dealer. I'm not namby-pamby fucking weights. This guy used to chop fucking deals off with a bowie knife off a 9-bar speed. A fucking 9-bar. There were guns in house. It were fucking dodgy. One day I'm sat at the kitchen. Rob walks in with a double-barrel shotgun. Fucking 12 gauge. I says, what are you doing with that? He says, oh, I bought it. And you know what it is? He used to go to his room, right, and he used to saw and bang and make things, you know what I mean? He'd be there for hours and hours. Oh, man, he'd come down with this gun. He'd cut stock down, painted it matte black. He'd cut barrels down. He'd scraped out back paint off two fucking metal tubes. Oh, what? It was absolutely beautiful. You know, proper blaggers gun. Give me a money now! One of them, fucking, oh, it was fucking beautiful. Really nice gun. So yeah, it was dodgy, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know what it is? What are you going to do when there's a speed deal in a basement? And that's it. I mean, I'd done speed before, right? Of course, you know, in my clubbing days, you know, it's not as if I hadn't had it. You know, I did speed, but I'd never pinned it. I never dug it, and that's what I started to do. Rob, you know, he showed me how to keep things sterile and, you know, to do it properly. And I started pinning my whiz, and that was it. It was just mental. I mean, I'd stay awake for days on end. There was one night, and we're all sat around the table, Scotch Billy, Gripper, this dodgy bastard, Rob, a couple of other lads, you know, my mates, and Gripper says, oh, I've got a pin with a gram of speed in it here, with a trip floating in it. He says, do you want it? I says, a trip floating in it? He went, yeah, it's been in it 24 hours. He says, do you want it? Anyway, I thought about it for a minute. I says, yeah, go on then, I'll have it. Fuck me. I jacked this speed up, right? I mean, forget coming up in an hour, man. I come up in 10 minutes on this acid. I went to 24-hour garage for a packet of cigs, yeah, and then ended up going on a 6-mile walk down Leeds and Liverpool Canal with headphones on, listening to Pink Floyd on my gummer on March with head on. Got back about 4 in the morning. Like, where have you been? It were fucking mental. But you know what it is? I lost my car. Man, wait till you hear this. I had an accident in my car, white Escort. There were 4 in back, squeezed into the back. I was driving, right, and I tell you when it was, right, Wayne's World had just come out on cinema. Remember Wayne's World? You know a bit when they start moshing to what's it now, that Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody. And when they start moshing to that, will that come over at radio? Come over at radio, yeah. Anyway, they're all in back like that. And I don't know what possessed me to do it to this day, but I started moving the steering wheel to beat at music. And the road was still wet. It had been raining. Anyway, the car went into this massive spin, spun round it, middle of the road. I hit a brick wall, knocked the brick wall down. The car bounced back into the middle of the fucking road. Oh, it was like a fucking banana with car. It was fucked. Then the cars started queuing up either side of me. They're all in back going, oh, me head, oh, like that, oh, fucking in back. Anyway, they had weed on them and stuff like that, so they've all chipped, right, left me with car. Anyway, I just prayed. I prayed till it'd start. Anyway, the old girl fired into life, right, and I managed to limp it into a car park next to Leeds and Liverpool Canal. So anyway, I've got on blow to my mate. I says, here, bring a couple of quids worth of petty to Amen Corner. He went, why? I says, just bring me some petty. Anyway, my mate's pulled up. He says, what do you want this for? I says, just wait there. Anyway, so I've gone to the car and I'm like that. Glug, 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 glug. And my eye caught this lighter in console at middleweight handbrake. Is it a gold lighter? And my brain went a bit blank. And I was thinking whether I was actually going to get it or leave it. And I'd lowered this petty canister and it left a pool of petrol and it went floor escort. And me, divvy me, yeah. I've only lent into the car, right, and flicked lighter. Boom! Big fucking blast. I got fucking blown back about 8 foot. All my hair was singed. I had no eyebrows. My eyelids are stuck together, I couldn't open them. My coat had all burnt. Anyway, I staggered back up to where my mate was. He was just listening to tunes, you know what I mean, miles away. So I've knocked on window. It must be like one of them cartoons, you know, where they see all frazzled hair and that lot. And I must have looked like a right state. And I literally couldn't open my eyes. A big fucking clouds of smoke coming from the car. Anyway, fucking hell, that was that. So yeah, you know what I mean, report it. You know what you do, don't you? My car's been nicked, one of them. But yeah, so that was it. I was bussing it to work. Gutted. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, like I say, it would a character with Rob. It would a character. Like I said, you know what I mean. It were hard as nails, right? And he'd not been mamby-pambied because his parents were like loaded, but he'd had so much tragedy happen to him. What with his mum hanging herself and his younger brother ODing. You know, so, you know what I mean? And he used to take it out on people when he got drunk, and like I say, we feared. We went to 24-hour garage one night, right, and council had been digging up road, and you know, yellow pipes you get that are like that, and then you get blue pipes that are bigger diameter. He said to me, he says, oh, get one end of this and I'll get other. He says, help me take it back home. I says, what are you going to do with this? He says, oh, I've got a right good idea. Anyway, we've pinched this fucking big blue pipe about 15 foot. So he's fucking hammering and fucking banging about in his room. Fuck me. He comes down with this thing he's made, right? He's cut 2 lengths of this blue pipe off 4.5 foot. Yeah, two lengths. And he'd bolted them together and sealed it. Then he'd got some open caps, right, and put bin liners on bottom. And then, fuck knows where he'd got it from, but he'd got this gas mask. Yeah, and there were tubes, and what you did, he'd made an harness for it, right, and you used to put this fucking thing on your back, and it were like an aqualung, you know, like what divers wear, you know what I mean? It were like that, and you put this gas mask on, right, and this pipe, tube here, and bowl for gauze. It were made out of a mag light, you know, but mag lights, where lens goes in, it were from that. Anyway, you'd put your weed in fucking thingy. And then someone would get it behind you, and as you lit it, they'd pull bags down behind you. Anyway, this took 5.5 breaths to like suck bags up. You used to suck up and they'd go a bit, yeah. And gas mask had full of smoke, right? And you were like looking at everyone in the room like that through these eyes, yeah. And it'd take 5.5 breaths to get the bags up. I mean, it's no wonder my fucking lungs are so fucked. But yeah, he'd do stuff like that. He loved making stuff in his room. But like I say, it were getting really dodgy, you know what I mean? There were at least 2 guns in the house, you know. Rob had that shotgun. I know that guy downstairs, I think he had a Beretta. And you know, drug dealing going on. And it were getting dodgy, you know what I mean? I used to, sometimes I think, God, if police ever fucking come round here, you know what I mean? But oh, God. You see, I were doing too much speed. I were doing far too much. And I were pinning it as well. I mean, people say, right, there's only one way to do whiz, and that's pinning it. And it is, I mean, you do it, you do it, and it's like, the rush that you get. Anyway, do you know what it is? There were one weekend, right, and I'd done far too much. I really had. I'd done far too much. I dug a quarter. I dug 7 gram over the space of a weekend, and it was too much. And when I'm in my room, right, and I hear this noise. So I thought, where's that coming from? Anyway, I look at it, were a sash window, you know what you lift up with weights on it. I looked at there, and every time this window went up a bit, it was going, I thought, what the fuck? Anyway, so I've gone over to the window, right? I'm not joking you. There's like 25 people in the back garden, all with cans of beer, laughing, pointing up at me at window. And then there were two big burly blokes, yeah, when they had ropes, and they were like a pulley system rigged up on window. And these two blokes, like, were pulling these fucking ropes either side. And every time they pulled these ropes, window would go, Anyway, I freaked out, me. I freaked out, so I've shot out of the room. I've gone to Rob, knocked on his door. Hey, Rob. Anyway, he's come down, looked out the window, nobody there. Nobody there. He says, you've done too much speed, you have. He says, you need to chill out a bit. He says, you've done far too much, you're hallucinating. Anyway, I were fucked. I were absolutely fucked. Anyway, he fucked off. Window were doing that again. I looked out. They were still there, loads of them. Anyway, I tried to barricade window best I could, and you know, I was putting wood up against it and that lot. I mean, I was totally fucked. And you won't believe what I did next, man. I've gone downstairs, right, and I've picked up phone and I've rung busies. I've rung the fucking police. Oh yeah, there's like 25 people in back garden now. Fucking they're trying to get in. Anyway, fucking about 15 minutes later, coppers knock at the door. So Rob's come downstairs. He says, who's that? I says, Rob, I've done something a bit stupid. He went, what? I says, I've rung police. He went, you've got to be kidding. I says, no. I says, I'm really sorry. He says, oh my God. Anyway, it let him in, yeah. Anyway, these busies have come in, right? So we're all sat around kitchen table, right? So Rob says, look, what it is, right? He's had too much speed. Yeah, he's injected it, and he's hallucinating. And it's not just hallucination; it's tactile hallucinations as well. You know what you can actually feel and see moving. You know what I mean? And yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm clued up about this now, but back in the day, I didn't know about getting sectioned or out like that. You see, what it is when something like that happens to you at first, right? They can't section you if you're in your own house. They can only do it off the street. But if you're in, if then when something like that happens, you are engaging with mental health services, they can actually get a warrant to like break into your house and force you to an ambulance. But anyway, you know what it is? Cut a long story short, I've gone with these coppers. Anyway, next minute I know, yeah, I'm getting sectioned. Fucking Iroids, mate, on my way to the famous Iroids mental hospital, off my face. By this time it were about 2 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I got there, got booked in, right, and there's this like nurse stroke caretaker, this male bloke, right, and all patients are asleep in bed, and I'm getting booked in, and I'm looking at windows, right, and I'm seeing people in bushes with guns, and I said to this bloke, I said, look, they're going to get me, I can see them there, and anyway, he says, there's no one there. Anyway, he goes out and he has a look round, right, comes back in, he says, there's nobody there. He says, you're seeing things. Anyway, I want having to me. I says, no. Anyway, 3 times that bloke went out to have a look. 3 times, and I won't have it. Anyway, you know what it is? It were a really bad time, right? Because at work, right, I mean, talk about leading a double life. I'd had to sign the official fucking Secrets Act because I were doing work. I were doing schematic wiring diagrams for helicopters for military defence, yeah, and it were called Thompson's Aviation, yeah, and it was strict fucking secrecy. So I'd signed official Secrets Act, I'd got this project on, and also as well, I'd got another project for Shell Petroleum, and they wanted promotional items such as mouse mats, cups, and they wanted a brochure, and they wanted a computer-based training software, and I were doing out graphics, so I had 2 important projects on. Anyway, you know what it is, I were expecting to get pumped full of diazes and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I thought, yeah, I can't wait, but no, they didn't give me out. They didn't give me out. And within 24 hours, all speed had worn off, and I were back to my normal self, and that's it. I went in at nurses. I was saying, listen, I've got these important projects on at work. I says, I need to be let out. You need to let me go. I says, I'm gonna get sacked if I can't do them. Anyway, they were having fucking none of it. So you know what it is. I was there a week and a half. Anyway, you know what it is. Fourth day, yeah, I'd got to know this patient in there. They called him Howard. What a character. This guy had spent the majority of his life on streets, yeah, but he really knew his stuff, man. He was right into his spiritual stuff, and we used to have really loads of long talks in smoke room, you know, back in the day when you could smoke inside. And see, what it was, right, you know, back to my quest, you know, earlier on in first videos I've put, one of the things that I thought to myself, I thought, well, you know, you get your Ouija board, right? And I thought, if I could do that and it works, I thought, I'm halfway there to proving that there is, you know, life after death. See, my mates, right, the lads that were my mates, before I met them, they'd done it. Now listen to this story will work to hear this. There were 6 of them that did it, right? Now, one of the lads has got his sister. When she were going to work that morning, she used to cut through family cemetery, and he said to her, he says, when you cut through family cemetery, pick a grave out at random, write the details down, you know, name and when he was born, when he died, blah 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 blah. And he says, give me it tonight. Anyway, she's come back. He's got this bit of paper. He's put it in an envelope, sealed it up, put it in his back pocket. Anyway, they've done Ouija board, and they did it in this old disused polytechnic in Farnley. Anyway, they got this spirit, right, and I mean, I'm not joking, right, this spirit, it was telling them when they were going to die, what age. It was telling them how they were going to die. It was telling them how many kids they were going to have. I mean, stuff that you shouldn't know, yeah. Anyway, they'd done that for like an hour. Anyway, my mate, he gets this envelope out of his back pocket, right, and he tears it open, right, and the name of the guy on the written on the piece of paper were the same spirit that got on Ouija board. Same date that he born, same date that he died. All details were the same. And they told me that, and I thought, I've just got to do it myself. Anyway, we're talking to Howard one night, right, and I brought this subject up, right, and he went, oh, you don't want to be messing about with all that. And I says, look, I really want to do it. I want to just experience it for myself. He went, ooh. Anyway, do you know what it is? It took me a couple of hours to talk him round, but he went, oh, he says, go on then. I says, right, I'll anyway, I went up to the ward, and I got a piece of A2 sugar paper and a marker pen and a glass. Anyway, I come back to the smoke room, right, and he's seen glass. He says, no, you don't want that. He says, we're not going to use that. I says, well, that's what you do, innit? He went, no, he says, just draw your board. Anyway, so I've drawn A to Z in like a half a circle, and then 0 to 9 in the other half a circle at the bottom, so it was like in a circle. And there's a line in the middle of the circle, and then there's yes written on one side and no written on the other. So anyway, he says, look, he says, I'll start you off, right? He says, but then I don't want out to do with it. Anyway, so he says, right, first thing, he says, always be polite to the spirits. Always say may I, yeah? Don't diss them, yeah? Don't disrespect them. And he says, what we do, right? Anyway, there were 3 of us in the smoke room, right? There was this woman, yeah? And she had a nervous breakdown, right? Her daughter was on smack, right? And there had been that much aggro and commotion with her on, you know, what suffering that fucking drugs cause. And mum had just lost it. She'd had a nervous breakdown. You know what it is, though? She had a St. Christopher on a chain. And Howard spotted this, and he says, oh, can I borrow your necklace? Anyway, she's took it off. He says, so Howard said, right, what we'll do with it? He says, you meant to use incense, and you meant to bless the chain. He says, but we ain't got any incense or sage or all that. He says, so I'm just going to use a cig. He used the cig, tobacco in it. And he's lit it, and he's blessed this chain, right, in the name of the Son, of the Father, of the Holy Spirit. Anyway, he says, right, he says, I don't know what to do with it now. He says, it's up to you. I says, well, I don't know what to do. I says, can't you just start me off? He went, right. He says, yeah, right. He says, watch this. Anyway, he's held this chain up right like that, yeah. And he's got his other hand right, and he's drawn it down the chain like that, so it's still and steady. Within about 30 seconds, right, it was circling. It was going in a circle. He went, right, there's something there. He says, I'll start you off, but then I don't want all to do with it now. I've told you. Anyway, he says, may I ask, there's a spirit in this room. Anyway, what he started doing, right, he were lifting and lowering this chain above the line where yes we're on one side and no we're on the other, and he were going up and down and up and down, and it were fucking mental. It were like someone were holding an invisible magnet to you, and when it were going down, the chain actually bent over to you. It actually went to you, and as he brought it back up, it went straight, and he were doing that. He says, right, there's something there. He says, right, it's all yours now. So I says, well, what should I do now? He says, do what I did. So I said, may I ask, there's a spirit in this room. Anyway, so I'm lifting this chain up and down like that, and it was like veering to you. I couldn't believe my eyes. Anyway, he says, right, he says, ask its name. So I said, may I ask the spirit's name? Anyway, fucking hell. Fucking mental. Listen to this. Put it over here, and the chain started swinging from side to side, like a pendulum on a clock. Yeah, slowly swinging from side to side. I wasn't doing it, I wasn't moving. So I've slowly gone round the board, and I've gone A, B, C. Anyway, the moment it hit the letter J, it went from a pendulum into a circle. And I mean, when I say it was circling J, there were a force behind it. Yeah, you could feel it on chain, there were a force. It went from a pendulum motion to circling. He says, right, you got your first letter. Anyway, I thought, oh my God, it's really working, this. I thought, you know what it is though, I'm gonna double check every letter. So I put it onto I, and it's gone from a circle to like a pendulum again. Then I've gone from back onto J. Soon as it hits J, circling round J, and I mean it was circling round, it were fucking flying round. He says, go on, you got your first letter. Anyway, I've gone right round fucking board again. Soon as it hits A, from a pendulum, circling A, and I mean it was circling. You could feel the force behind it. So, and I double checked every letter, so back to Z, pendulum motion, back to A, circling it. Anyway, I got J, A, N, N. Now by this time, me and I were the scratching his fucking heads, and we're like, what the fuck's jam? Anyway, you know what it is, I didn't twig at first, right? When I was at college, yeah, I studied art history, and I once studied, I had a project on, and I researched a German typographer called Jan Tschichold, and it didn't twig at first, but J's in German and Poland, they'd actually pronounced Y, so it wasn't Jan, it was Jan, but I didn't get this at this, so anyway, you know, it is, we're scratching our heads, anyway, we're talking like 1:45 in the morning at a mental hospital in Iroids, you know, doing this Ouija board. Anyway, one at night nurses, right, she's walked past the doorway, open doorway, and she's seen us, and she says, what are you lot doing up at this time? And then she's looked down, right, and seen Ouija board. She says, oh my God, what the hell do you think you're doing? Anyway, she were alright with this nurse, and a little smile's come up, crease of her lips. And she says, did you get anybody? Who did you get? And I says, well, it were working. It was spelling letters out. I says, but it spelled Jan. She went, oh, did you get Jan? Listen to this. There were a Polish Second World, he were a prisoner of war, right? He spent about 20 years in Iroids, right? He had shell shock from Second World War. Nuts as a box of frogs, mad as a box of frogs, right? The nurse knew him. He used to go around all ashtrays, emptying backy out into his tin and selling backy to patients. And he died in Iroids, and the nurse knew him. And it was Jan. So that were it. I'd done it, it worked. And that were ticked off my list. So yeah, fucking amazing. Really, it were really good. It were an experience, but you know what it is. I haven't done it. I haven't done it since. You know what it is. I might cover this later on, right? Because there's stuff you need to know what happens when you do that, yeah. And you know you've got to be really careful. So you know what it is. Don't do it unless you've got someone with you who knows what they're doing. Listen, fucking sorted. Listen, 5B soon, yeah. Respect. Take care out there.